November 22nd, 1963. It began as a bright autumn morning in Dallas, Texas. Thousands of people lined the streets, eager to catch a glimpse of the young American president. Children waved small flags, families smiled from sidewalks and balconies, camera flashes filled the air. The atmosphere was one of excitement, hope, and celebration. President John Fitzgerald Kennedy was nearing the end of a political visit through Texas. Only minutes earlier, he had been greeted by cheering crowds. No one imagined that this ordinary day would soon become one of the darkest moments in American history. Shortly after 12:30 in the afternoon, the presidential motorcade entered Dealey Plaza. The black open-top limousine rolled slowly past rows of spectators. President Kennedy smiled and waved to the crowd. Beside him sat First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy, dressed in her now famous pink suit and matching pillbox hat. Texas Governor John Connally and his wife Nellie sat in front of the president. Everything appeared calm. Then, a loud crack echoed across the plaza. For a brief moment, many believed it was a firecracker. Then another shot rang out. Panic spread instantly. People screamed. Some dropped to the ground. Others ran for cover. Secret Service agents sprinted toward the limousine. Within seconds, the president had been mortally wounded. The motorcade accelerated toward Parkland Memorial Hospital. Across the nation, television and radio broadcasts were suddenly interrupted with breaking news. Millions of Americans gathered around televisions, waiting anxiously for updates. Less than an hour later, doctors made the announcement. President John F. Kennedy was dead. He was only 46 years old. The assassination shocked not only the United States but the entire world. Questions immediately began to emerge. Who fired the shots? Why had the president been targeted? Was one man responsible, or was there something much larger hidden beneath the surface? More than 60 years later, the assassination of John F. Kennedy remains one of the most investigated and most debated events in modern history. In this documentary, we'll examine the events of that day, the official investigation, the evidence, and the enduring questions that continue to captivate historians and the public alike. To understand what happened on November 22nd, 1963, it's important to understand why President Kennedy was in Dallas in the first place. John Fitzgerald Kennedy had become the 35th President of the United States in January 1961. At just 43 years old, he was the youngest person elected to the office. His presidency quickly became associated with optimism, ambition, and a vision of progress. He challenged Americans to support the space program. He promoted economic growth. He spoke about civil rights at a time when the nation was deeply divided. Yet Kennedy's presidency also faced enormous challenges. The Cold War with the Soviet Union dominated international politics. The Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 had brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. At home, debates over civil rights, racial segregation, and federal authority created growing political tension across the country. As the 1964 presidential election approached, Kennedy began traveling across the United States to strengthen political support. Texas was considered especially important. Although Kennedy had won the state in the 1960 election, divisions within the Texas Democratic Party threatened his chances of carrying it again. The trip was carefully planned to unite party leaders and build momentum for the coming campaign. On November 21st, 1963, President Kennedy and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy arrived in Texas. During the visit, they traveled through San Antonio, Houston, and Fort Worth. At every stop, large crowds gathered to welcome them. Kennedy appeared relaxed and confident. His speeches focused on national unity, economic opportunity, and America's future. On the morning of November 22nd, the president addressed a breakfast gathering at the Hotel Texas in Fort Worth before flying to Dallas aboard Air Force One. The flight lasted only a short time. When Air Force One landed at Love Field shortly before noon, thousands of people had already gathered to greet the president. Kennedy stepped onto the aircraft stairs, smiling beside Jacqueline Kennedy. The First Lady's elegant pink suit immediately caught the attention of photographers. The president shook hands with supporters. He signed autographs, He paused to speak with members of the crowd despite the tight schedule. Observers later recalled how cheerful and relaxed he appeared. The warm welcome suggested that the visit was going exactly as planned. Soon afterward, the presidential motorcade departed Love Field. The route through Dallas had been announced in advance. Thousands of spectators lined the streets, hoping to catch a glimpse of the President and First Lady as the motorcade made its way toward the Trade Mart, where Kennedy was scheduled to deliver a luncheon speech. No one knew that within the next hour, the course of American history would change forever. The motorcade continued through downtown Dallas, moving toward Dealey Plaza. Ahead lay a series of turns that would place the president's limousine directly beneath the windows of the Texas School Book Depository. Within minutes, tragedy would strike. At approximately 12:30 p.m., the presidential motorcade entered Dealey Plaza in downtown Dallas. The weather was clear. The sun shone brightly overhead. Crowds lined both sides of the streets, waving American flags and cheering as the president's limousine passed by. The motorcade had slowed considerably as it approached a sharp turn from Houston Street onto Elm Street. The open-top 1961 Lincoln Continental limousine moved at only a few miles per hour, giving spectators a clear view of the President and First Lady. President Kennedy smiled and waved to the crowd. Governor John Connally, seated in front of the President, turned to say, "Mr. President, you certainly can't say that Dallas doesn't love you." Kennedy smiled in agreement. Moments later, the first shot rang out. Several witnesses later recalled hearing what sounded like a sharp crack echoing across the plaza. Some people believed it was a motorcycle backfiring. Others looked upward, trying to locate the source of the sound. Within seconds, another shot followed. Governor Connally cried out as he was seriously wounded. Chaos erupted throughout Dealey Plaza. People screamed. Parents grabbed their children. Many dropped to the ground for cover. Others ran toward nearby buildings, unsure where the shots had come from. A third shot struck President Kennedy in the head, causing a catastrophic injury. The First Lady immediately climbed onto the rear of the limousine, appearing to reach for part of the president or debris from the vehicle. Secret Service agent Clint Hill, who had been riding on the follow-up car just behind the limousine, sprinted toward the president's vehicle. Displaying extraordinary courage, Hill leaped onto the back of the moving limousine. He pushed Jacqueline Kennedy back into her seat and shielded both the president and First Lady with his own body as the driver accelerated away from the scene. The limousine raced toward Parkland Memorial Hospital, only a few miles away. Inside the car, doctors were not yet present. Secret Service agents and those inside the limousine understood that every second mattered. As the motorcade sped through Dallas, police officers flooded Dealey Plaza. Witnesses pointed in different directions. Some believed the shots had come from the Texas School Book Depository. Others insisted they had heard gunfire from the grassy area now known as the Grassy Knoll. The confusion in those first moments would become one of the most debated aspects of the entire case. At 12:38 p.m., the presidential limousine arrived at Parkland Memorial Hospital. Doctors, nurses, and emergency staff rushed outside with a stretcher. President Kennedy was immediately taken into Trauma Room 1. Medical teams worked desperately to save his life. Despite every effort, the injuries were too severe. At 1 p.m., President John Fitzgerald Kennedy was officially pronounced dead. He was 46 years old. Only 90 minutes earlier, he had been smiling and waving to cheering crowds. Now, the United States had lost its president. News spread rapidly across the country through television and radio broadcasts. Regular programming was interrupted. Reporters struggled to confirm the unimaginable. Within minutes, millions of Americans learned that their president had been assassinated. Shock quickly turned into grief. Flags were lowered to half-staff. Businesses closed. Schools dismissed students early. Across the world, governments expressed condolences as newspapers prepared special editions announcing the death of President Kennedy. But even as the nation mourned, investigators in Dallas were already searching for the person responsible. Within hours, attention would focus on a 24-year-old former U.S. Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald. His arrest would raise even more questions than answers, beginning one of the most controversial criminal investigations in modern history. As news of the assassination spread, law enforcement officers across Dallas launched one of the largest manhunts in the city's history. Witnesses directed police toward the Texas School Book Depository, a 7-story warehouse overlooking Dealey Plaza. Investigators quickly learned that several employees had been inside the building when the shots were fired. One employee, however, was missing. His name was Lee Harvey Oswald. Oswald was a 24-year-old former United States Marine. He had served in the Marine Corps from 1956 to 1959, where he received training in marksmanship. Although his shooting skills were considered average to above average during his military service, he was familiar with rifles and military procedures. After leaving the Marines, Oswald made an unusual decision. In 1959, he traveled to the Soviet Union and announced that he intended to live there. His move attracted the attention of both American and Soviet authorities during the height of the Cold War. He eventually married Marina Prusakova, a Soviet citizen. In 1962, the couple returned to the United States and settled in Texas. Friends and acquaintances later described Oswald as quiet, withdrawn, and deeply interested in political ideology. In the weeks before the assassination, he found work at the Texas School Book Depository. On the afternoon of November 22nd, investigators discovered a rifle on the building's 6th floor. Nearby were 3 spent cartridge cases. Several eyewitnesses reported seeing a man in an upper floor window around the time of the shooting. Shortly after the assassination, Oswald left the building. At approximately 1:15 p.m., Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit encountered a man matching the suspect's description in the Oak Cliff neighborhood. Moments later, Officer Tippit was shot and killed. The suspect fled on foot. Police officers, aided by information from witnesses, searched the surrounding area. The search led them to the Texas Theater, where a suspicious man had entered without purchasing a ticket. Officers surrounded the building. Inside the darkened theater, they located Lee Harvey Oswald. As police attempted to arrest him, Oswald resisted. A struggle followed. According to officers at the scene, Oswald attempted to draw a revolver before being subdued and taken into custody. He was arrested for the murder of Officer Tippit. Soon afterward, investigators also charged him with the assassination of President Kennedy. The arrest immediately became headline news around the world. Television cameras captured Oswald as he was escorted through police headquarters by detectives. Reporters shouted questions from every direction. "Did you kill the president?" Oswald remained calm. He denied every accusation. "I didn't shoot anybody," he told reporters. He also made the statement that would become one of the most famous quotes in American criminal history. "I'm just a patsy." By using the word patsy, Oswald claimed he was being used as a scapegoat for crimes he insisted he did not commit. Investigators continued gathering evidence. They traced the rifle found inside the Texas School Book Depository to Oswald through mail-order purchase records. Fingerprint evidence linked him to the weapon. Photographs taken before the assassination appeared to show Oswald holding the same rifle and a pistol. Witness testimony, ballistic analysis, and forensic examinations became central to the investigation. Yet even as evidence was being collected, many questions remained unanswered. Before Oswald could stand trial, before the evidence could be tested in court, before the public could hear his full defense, a shocking event would unfold that stunned the nation once again. Only 2 days after President Kennedy's assassination, millions of television viewers would witness another killing, this time broadcast live before their eyes. As investigators prepared their case against Lee Harvey Oswald, the American public waited for answers. Police planned to transfer Oswald from the Dallas City Jail to the county jail on the morning of November 24, 1963. The transfer was expected to be routine. Dozens of police officers secured the basement of police headquarters. Television cameras were positioned to broadcast the event live. Millions of Americans watched from their homes. At approximately 11:21 a.m., detectives escorted Oswald into the basement. He was handcuffed and surrounded by officers. As they approached the waiting vehicle, a man suddenly stepped out of the crowd. His name was Jack Ruby. Ruby was a Dallas nightclub owner who was well known to many local police officers because of his business. Without warning, he pulled out a revolver. Before anyone could stop him, Ruby fired a single shot into Oswald's abdomen at close range. The gunshot echoed through the basement. Police officers immediately tackled Ruby to the ground and wrestled the weapon from his hands. Oswald collapsed in pain. The shocking scene unfolded live on national television. Millions of viewers witnessed the shooting in real time. It was one of the first moments in history when a murder was broadcast before a global audience. Oswald was rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, the same hospital where President Kennedy had been pronounced dead just 2 days earlier. Despite emergency surgery, doctors were unable to save him. Lee Harvey Oswald died that afternoon. He was 24 years old. With Oswald's death, the possibility of a public trial disappeared forever. Many hoped a courtroom proceeding would answer the nation's questions. Instead, his death created even more uncertainty. Authorities quickly arrested Jack Ruby. During questioning, Ruby claimed he acted alone. He said he was overcome with grief over President Kennedy's assassination and wanted to spare Jacqueline Kennedy the pain of returning to Dallas for a trial. In 1964, Ruby was convicted of murdering Lee Harvey Oswald and sentenced to death. However, his conviction was later overturned on appeal and a new trial was ordered. Before that trial could take place, Ruby died of cancer in January 1967. To investigate President Kennedy's assassination, President Lyndon B. Johnson established a special commission. It became known as the Warren Commission, named after its chairman, Chief Justice Earl Warren. For nearly a year, the commission reviewed thousands of pages of documents. It interviewed hundreds of witnesses. It examined photographs, films, medical reports, ballistic evidence, and physical evidence collected during the investigation. In September 1964, the commission released its final report. It concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in assassinating President Kennedy from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. It also concluded that Jack Ruby acted alone when he killed Oswald. Despite those findings, many Americans remained unconvinced. Questions continued to surround eyewitness testimony. Some witnesses believed the shots had come from locations other than the Texas School Book Depository, including the area known as the Grassy Knoll. Others questioned aspects of the forensic evidence or the sequence of the shots. Over the decades, numerous books, documentaries, and investigations have explored alternative theories. Some have suggested the involvement of organized crime. Others have proposed connections to intelligence agencies, foreign governments, or other groups. To date, no alternative theory has been conclusively proven, and historians continue to debate aspects of the evidence. The assassination of President Kennedy remains one of the most closely studied events in modern history. While the official findings are well documented, public interest and discussion have endured for generations, ensuring that November 22, 1963 remains a defining moment in American and world history. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy marked a turning point in American history. For millions of people, it was the moment they would always remember. Many could recall exactly where they were when they first heard the news. Across the United States, churches opened their doors for prayer. Schools paused classes. Businesses fell silent. Flags flew at half-staff. The sense of shock extended far beyond America's borders. Leaders from around the world offered messages of sympathy and support. Newspapers across Europe, Asia, Africa, and Latin America carried front-page stories announcing the death of the young American president. For many, Kennedy had come to symbolize a generation of optimism and change. Just hours after the assassination, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as the 36th President of the United States aboard Air Force One. The oath of office was administered by federal judge Sarah T. Hughes. Standing beside Johnson was Jacqueline Kennedy, still wearing the pink suit she had worn during the motorcade. The suit remained stained from the tragic events earlier that day, becoming one of the most enduring images in American history. Air Force One then departed Dallas for Washington, D.C., carrying the late president's body home. In the days that followed, hundreds of thousands of mourners gathered in the nation's capital. President Kennedy lay in state beneath the dome of the United States Capitol. People waited for hours, many through the night, for the opportunity to pay their final respects. On November 25, 1963, Kennedy's state funeral was watched by millions of television viewers around the world. World leaders, diplomats, military officials, and former presidents joined members of the Kennedy family in mourning. One of the most memorable moments came as the funeral procession passed through the streets of Washington. The president's young son, John F. Kennedy Jr., saluted his father's flag-draped coffin on his 3rd birthday. The image became one of the defining photographs of the 20th century. President Kennedy was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. An eternal flame was lit at his gravesite by Jacqueline Kennedy. The flame continues to burn today as a symbol of remembrance and national tribute. More than 6 decades have passed since the events of November 22, 1963. Thousands of books, articles, documentaries, government reports, and academic studies have examined the assassination from every possible angle. Previously classified government records have been released over the years, offering additional historical information while continuing to generate discussion among researchers. Although the official investigation concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, the assassination remains one of the most debated events in modern history. Historians continue to examine the evidence. Researchers continue to analyze witness testimony, photographs, films, and official documents. Public interest has never truly faded. The assassination of John F. Kennedy changed the course of American history. It reshaped presidential security. It influenced politics, journalism, and public trust in government. Its impact can still be felt today. More than a story about one tragic afternoon in Dallas, it is a reminder of how quickly history can change. One ordinary day, one motorcade, a few seconds that altered the future of a nation, and a mystery that continues to captivate the world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us on Real History Chronicles as we continue exploring the true stories that shaped our world.